the simplicity of the practice, I think, is really important. This invitation to simply be. I love the phrase rest in being. I got that out of the Year to Live book, which was a book written by Stephen Levine about a year-long practice of living as though it were your last year. And this idea of just resting in being. No, don't have to do anything. We don't have to achieve or accomplish, just be. And sometimes that's one of the hardest things to do. So, but that's what I want to, that's the invitation for our practice today is to just rest in being. And I'll offer instructions as we go through. We'll have about 20, a little over 20 minutes, 20, 25 minutes sit. So as we settle in, I invite you to find a seat that's comfortable with your eyes open or closed, whatever your practice is. You can be sitting in a chair, a sofa, the floor, a cushion. You can be laying down or standing up, really, whatever's comfortable for you as you move into this practice. But what I would invite you to do is begin to just connect with the body in a way that allows you to feel the support of your foundation beneath you, your chair, your cushion, your floor. Ultimately, we are all supported by the earth beneath us. So take a few moments to settle in, beginning to relax the body. Maybe taking some time to go through and soften around the face, let go of any places you might be tight or tense, allowing the jaw to relax, moving into the shoulders, allowing the shoulders to relax, letting the arms, the hands rest comfortably on your lap or your legs. Releasing any tension in the torso, allowing the belly to soften, the hips, the legs. Let there be a relaxing, a letting go as much as you can. And as the body relaxes, allow the mind also to relax, letting go of any expectations, any agenda. There's nothing that needs to be accomplished, nothing that needs to be fixed or changed. Just open in a gentle awareness of being here. Let yourself rest in being in this moment. There's nowhere else to be. There's nothing else to do. There's the invitation to present time awareness. And as you're settling in, you may begin to notice what's present for you. Perhaps there are some sensations in the body, so many different energies that pulse or throb. Perhaps there's an ache, or even simply just awareness of the contact with your seat. Aware of any other sensations, perhaps a sound or a smell. Aware of any emotions that might be present, any thoughts. Present time awareness doesn't mean we shut out anything. We don't push anything away. We're open to being here for whatever shows up. It may be pleasant or unpleasant, comfortable or uncomfortable, but we greet everything with friendliness. We neither push anything away nor cling to anything. Just resting and being right where you are. The mind may be restless. You may be pulled away into thinking about the future or the past. It's easy for us to get caught up in thinking, planning, remembering. And when you notice you've drifted, And gently release the thought, the story, reconnecting with the experience of being right here. What's in this moment? What is this? There's no judgment. The habits of mind are so strong. Thoughts can be so seductive, but we make the effort to reconnect with our present time experience, to come back to rest in being right here. Allowing the body to be relaxed. It's easy for tension to come back with difficult thoughts or sensations, staying relaxed in the body and the mind, resting in a gentle awareness, resting right here, right where you are. Where are you right now? No matter how many times the mind drifts away, no matter how long it stays somewhere else, the present is always available. You can always reconnect, making the effort to release the story, to return, and to rest again in this moment, open to what's here right now. And we are coming now to the last few moments of our sit. And I invite you, if you like, to a simple gratitude practice. You can bring something to mind that you're grateful for and rest for a few moments in that gratitude. So, thanks everyone. Thanks for your practice. So now I want to offer a little reflection. And what was coming up for me is I was thinking about a couple of my very favorite phrases in the Dharma, or at least in how I see it. And one of them is this invitation to live with an undefended heart. And the other is the phrase, right now it's like this. And basically, at least in my mind, I think they're pretty much the same thing, but they're coming at this idea from a different place, and they're pretty much the practice of equanimity. Which is the capacity or the ability to be present with whatever arises in our lives. Living with an undefended heart means to be fully open, to not have any walls or barriers between reality and your experience of it. It doesn't mean, I have to say this, it doesn't mean we don't have boundaries. It doesn't mean that at all. It means we can be present for the reality of life. It doesn't mean we put up with stuff from people that's unskillful or unwise or things like that. So it just means that, oh, I can open to the moment. And then another piece of that, I think maybe a way into that is the phrase, right now, it's like this. It's a reminder, oh, right now, it's like this. Not what I want it to be, not what I think it should be, but it's like this. I even have it tattooed on my arm so I don't forget. But right now, it's like this. And equanimity is really important in Buddhist practice. It's this, as I said, it's the capacity to be present with the reality of existence or the reality of this moment. And it comes in a lot of lists. It's the last in a lot of lists. It's the last of the Brahma Viharas, the heart practices, which are loving kindness and compassion and appreciative joy. And then equanimity, it's the final factor of the seven factors of awakening. So you have, mindfulness and investigation and effort and tranquility and one concentration, and then equanimity. And it's part of the paramis, which are these qualities of the heart that are said to that need to be developed. It's the capacity to be. It's the capacity to be rather than reacting. Um, and it seems it can sound really challenging, and it can be, but there's a simple quality to it. It's this resting in being. It sounds simple, but it's not necessarily easy. And it's a kind of a journey that we take through our practice. Equanimity, another definition that I really like for equanimity is this capacity to be intimate, or it's a deep intimacy with our experience without needing it to be different from the way it is. Um, And it's pretty much where we want to get to in practice. It's this freedom from attachment, of freedom from should. And it should be like this, and it can't be like that. It just is. It doesn't mean we don't work to change things that are harmful. It doesn't mean we don't work to end suffering. We practice to end suffering for ourselves and for all beings. We practice for the liberation of all beings because we're all interconnected. But we have to be willing to be present and acknowledge the reality of what's happening. Um, it's a freedom from greed, it's a freedom from aversion, it's a freedom from ignorance, the three poisons, as the Buddha calls them. But it's not necessarily easy. First of all, because we are hardwired as human beings to avoid pain, to avoid discomfort. It's helped us survive these thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. But sometimes the habits we've developed over our lifetime, habits of behavior, habits of thinking, are not necessarily helpful. They're more reactive than responding with wisdom. And these habits that we have of thinking, of behaving, may have served a purpose in our lives. And perhaps they've outgrown their usefulness, or perhaps they are things that we've developed to cope with a challenging situation. We are all conditioned beings. We are conditioned by our family. We're conditioned by our neighborhood. We're conditioned by our school, by our peers. We're conditioned by society. Some of us are told we're not okay, we're not good enough, we don't belong, for any number of reasons. We're othered, there's a lot of pain, some of us been harmed, and we develop these mechanisms to maneuver and to avoid feeling that discomfort, that pain again. Um, they are not always very skillful, or they don't serve us sometimes in other situations. I was growing up, and I grew up in a family where it was prudent not to say anything that other people wouldn't like. And so I learned to keep my mouth shut. And I learned to keep my mouth shut all the time, because there was always that off chance somebody might not like it and it wouldn't end up well. So I was like smiling all the time, little Mary Sunshine. I actually have a nameplate that they gave me at work over there. I'm pointing over there. It says Little Mary Sunshine. Everything's fine all the time. And it's not, but I couldn't admit it because it was too dangerous. And other experiences, so having that there was an inability for me to speak and speak truth. That is not helpful in a lot of ways. That's not helpful. But that was the habit that was entrenched. And so when we come to practice, when we sit on the cushion, as you all, I think, if I'm betting, have experienced, there's this. I've taught meditation, intro to meditation, for many years, and I always ask folks what they hope to get out of it. And a lot of times the answer is, I just want to bliss out. And I have to break the news to them that there may be some experience of bliss, but there's going to be some experience of non-bliss. Those feelings, those emotions that we've kept hidden, that we've worked really hard to not feel, they're going to show up at some point if we're really open to being present with what is. And if we're willing to turn towards what is. And I had that experience early on, as well. Yeah, my father died when I was 5, and it was sudden. And one day he was there, and one day he wasn't, and that was the end of that. It didn't get talked about, and it wasn't until I really started seriously practicing that all this grief showed up that I had no idea was here. This running from emotions that we often do. You know. And so these emotions maybe show up for the first time, that we knew we were hiding, or we didn't know we were hiding. And our habits have developed to help us mitigate the discomfort from these things. And we figure out how to, walk around them, but they're just going to always show up at some point, especially if we practice. And to really get deep in a spiritual practice, you have to be willing to stay for the discomfort, which is why people bounce around to so many practices because, oh, initially it's like, oh, this is great. But then when the rubber hits the road, it's like, I don't like this anymore. I'm going over there. So for the real transformation, the real liberation, there's a need to stay grounded and present, which is what this practice of equanimity is, this practice of moving towards an undefended heart and recognizing, okay, right now it's like this. How do I stay for this experience? How do I make space for something that maybe hasn't had space ever? Because I'm like, no, you can't be there. Whether conscious or unconscious, we react, we blame, we fix, we run away, we numb ourselves in some way, shape, or form. But it doesn't work. And the Buddha, this is such a basic core teaching of Buddhism and what the Buddha taught in the Four Noble Truths. The first noble truth, there is suffering. There is dukkha. There's birth, there's death, there's loss. We're going to experience all those things. And the second noble truth is about this dukkha we have, what the word that's often translated as suffering, or usually translated as suffering. This dukkha is our inability to be with this discomfort, our inability to be with the way it is, and our chasing pleasant all the time. That's dukkha. And the third noble truth says there's a way out. There is a cessation, and that is through the Eightfold Path. And the first factor of the Eightfold Path is wise view of seeing clearly the nature of suffering, of our suffering, that there is dukkha, there is loss. Part of the five remembrances is we are all of the nature to grow old, get sick, and die, and everything we have will be taken from us. All we have are our actions. So what are the actions we're going to take in this moment? Not chasing something to fix this discomfort, but how do we turn towards and be with what's here? We have to be willing to be present. There's a very wise monk, or there was a very wise monk who lived in Thailand in the last century, Ajahn Chah, the Thai forest tradition, and he says, if we don't know suffering, then we can't know the cause of suffering. And if we don't know the cause of suffering, then we can't know the cessation of suffering. So the invitation is to be here now. It's the human condition. I remember when I was first had the realization that I suffered from the human condition. I was diagnosed with the human condition. It was so disappointing. I didn't want that. Not that I was consciously fighting being a human being, but I was like, I don't want those things. And then it was like, okay, I'm a human. What does that mean? What does it entail for this person in this body with this conditioning, with these experiences? Ajahn Chah also said, anything that's troubling you, anything that's irritating you, that's also your teacher. So when we come to practice, we bring this willingness to be with what is. Because there isn't what is, this craving for something else. This is only this second arrow. I don't like this, and I'm going to yearn for that. So we double down on not liking something and chasing something else, and it exacerbates it, makes it worse. Where if we can just turn towards and make space, there's a very different experience. We get to practice being here now, and we get to move towards equanimity. And what's also incredibly important to know around this is that it doesn't happen all at once. We live in a culture of microwave miracles. Give me the 4 steps, tell me how many weeks it's going to take, and then I'm going to be fixed. And it doesn't work like that. My latest tattoo is I'm not dead, so I'm not done. Because I'm not dead, so I'm not done. I'm continually moving towards this. So when we begin, I think it's incredibly important to just maybe put a toe in the water rather than jumping off the deep end. We come from different backgrounds. We have different experiences. We have traumatic experiences, and it's not safe to dive into the deep end. So we take this slowly. There's a wisdom that also comes from practice, a discernment that allows us to have, to be a little bit more skillful. We work with community because there's a sangha. We don't have to do this alone. This is not a pull yourself up by your bootstraps kind of thing. We're in this in community. And so we have the wisdom and we have the compassion that also arises with practice. There's wisdom to see clearly and the compassion to tend to it wisely and skillfully. There's a gentleness in our movement towards equanimity, and right now it's like this may be a challenge, but we're gentle with it. Okay. Oh, right now it's like really painful. I'm going to go sit, or I'm going to go walk in the forest, or pet a cat, or have a chai latte, or however we take care of ourselves. It's really important to find what's skillful right now. And as I said, there's no time frame for any of this. But what can be helpful is to set an intention to move towards equanimity. No time frame, but just move towards it. I first talked about living with an undefended heart about 14 years ago, and that's kind of been my intention for the last 14 years. Well, how do I say what needs to be said? That's been it's still a practice for me. Wise speech has helped me say what I need to say and to touch the grief that still shows up, even, 65 years later after my father died. His birthday was on Sunday and I still cried. It's like, oh, I can let it be there now. Wow. So being aware of what gets in the way and being wise and skillful how we move towards healing. I think this journey is so important, and it's the journey to liberation and it's the journey to freedom. And so thank you so much, my friends, for your attention. And I hope this has been of some benefit. And now I have there's time for some questions or some comments or some thoughts about any of this. I also take rebuttals, so I'm open to anything. I think raise your hand or put them in the chat or just yell because there's enough of us, or wave your hand, whatever. How y'all doing on your journey towards an undefended heart? Sue, please.
I just want to thank you very much. I lost my partner last week, and today was a very, very good talk. I thank you, and I hope to see you more often. Yeah, it was. I really found myself wanting to sleep, to sleep, to sleep. It was just really important to hear what you said. Thank you very, very much. I really look forward to these practices, and Chris and I used to come every Wednesday, so it's really nice. I'm glad I'm here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sue. And I'm so sorry for your loss. And I'm glad it sounds like you're taking care of yourself. So much love.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is not a rebuttal because basically we agree on just about everything. But I find the phrase an undefended heart to be somewhat frightening and maybe a little misguided. I just finished the book by Chris Hayes that just came out called The Siren's Call. And the entire book is about defending your heart and defending your mind from a world that wants to monetize every moment of your attention and manipulate for gain. So I think we need to um, talk about the middle ground between the defended and undefended heart.
Great. That's a great point. Thank you. I appreciate that, Richard. A lot of times in these teachings, words have a different impact on different people. And that's why I said at the outset that it's not about not having boundaries, which is how we defend our hearts against things. But I appreciate that. And if it doesn't land for you, then ehi pasico, find your own way with this. So beautiful. Thank you. Yeah. Anything else? Victoria, please.
I just want to thank you for this really beautiful talk. I it's it's so helpful actually to hear, especially from a guiding teacher, how to navigate grief. And I've lost all the significant people in my life, except for my daughter, thankfully. Um, and it just, yeah, it's funny how everyone says, oh, it'll get better with time, just allow time. And I feel like it's a spiral that it goes around. Sometimes there are moments where everything seems okay, and then the grief will suddenly hit again, and it'll be really overwhelming, even after many, many years. So I just want to really express my appreciation to you that you were so candid with us, and um, because that gives, I mean, speaking of ehi pasico, that really gives the gravitas to what a teacher is saying, if to share how they've dealt with it themselves personally, and how the Dharma helps in addressing grief. So I just really want to honor that and thank you.
Thanks, Victoria. Thank you.
I have a
Susan,
question. Me?
Susan, please. Yeah. Yes, you.
Yes. What do you suggest is the best practice for practicing being with what is, if you're in the middle of it or if you're not in the middle of it? If you're not in meditation, you're just in your life.
Oh, if you're just walking around, yeah, I think so meditation is for me the way I train myself to walk around. And so really having that, hopefully that awareness to recognize when something's happening and to be able to pause and sometimes just find your feet. If you notice your mind's going 1,000 miles an hour, or you're getting into this la 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 chat chat, chat. Like would have conversations with people who aren't in the room. That's one of my habits. And then I went, wait a minute, they're not here. And really be willing to pull back from that old habitual reactivity and say, how do I want to show up in this moment? Sometimes it's just pausing. Sometimes I just put my hand in front of my face to stop the mind from running. So I think play with it. There's no one size fits all. So see what works for you and then adopt that as a way. It's like, okay, where's my feet? That's why for me right now, it's like this is a little phrase that pops into my head that reminds me to come back and to be present. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? Devlin, please.
Hi, thank you so much for your teachings. I have a lot to chew on or sit with. I'm curious about this concept of the undefended heart and bodhicitta and chitta, and if there's maybe a connection there. I'm just kind of playing with those in my mind a little bit, and I'm curious if you see any overlap or connection there or not.
The bodhicitta, the wise heart idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think absolutely, because if you moved, it has to be grounded in wisdom. It has to be grounded in clarity. Otherwise, we are just putting ourselves out there. It's like, think Pema Chodron uses the phrase idiot compassion, where we're just like, and that I think Buddhists have a rap for just people thinking, and sometimes Buddhist practitioners think it's like, oh, I'm not supposed to say anything harsh or unkind, or, that will hurt their feelings, and we have to be la la la, instead of really, no, we have to, for me, wise speech is, for example, is not just telling the truth and saying it kindly, but it's saying what needs to be said. But there has to be a level of wisdom before, so we know how to move through it. So there's the idea, there's the wisdom and the heart. There's the idea of the wise heart that holds us. So when we're new to practice, it's helpful to just kind of keep that, okay, what's going on? A little bit of safety, take care of ourselves until we have the more integrated experience of the teachings and know more wisely how to hold and be present, if that makes sense. Yeah, hopefully. And I think we've just pretty much out of time, if I'm not mistaken. Madeline, do you have a few things? And I say thank you so much, my friends, for being here and for your practice.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone. Wow, it was a really great session. Thank you, Mary. And we also just want to let the group know that, as those of you who come regularly know, that these teachings are offered by these amazing, skilled, wise teachers freely. And your support really matters. If you are able to offer any dana or financial support to the teachers, they're showing up here generously with their time, practices, and wisdom, and they're not paid to be here. So yeah, I've put in the chat that Mary's website and her Venmo and PayPal link, if you're able to, if you are called to. If you've benefited from this experience, we invite you to donate, and anything that you're able to offer is gratefully received. Also want to let you all know that next week our teacher will be DeJuno Devereaux, will be our teacher on Wednesday, 12 noon. And we would love for you, if you're interested, to look at our upcoming retreats, especially Mary's retreat on October 23rd. It's not this weekend, but next weekend. So beautiful time to be up in Big Bear, and there are still a few spots left. So yeah, thank you all for joining us. Really happy to have you all here, and look forward to seeing you all next Wednesday or up at Big Bear. Yeah, thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care.
Yeah, please
Thank
jump
you.
in with your
Thank you.
voices.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Mary.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye,
Mary.
everybody. Bye, Madeline. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.